Conversations. My name is AJ Davis, and I am here with Miss Erica Cokley, candidate for Charleston County School District Board Seat District 10, which is the West Ashley area. Hi, Erica. How are you doing?
Hi, AJ. How are you today?
All right. All right. Well, thank you for agreeing to meet and to talk about your candidacy for the West Ashley seat. So, first and foremost, let's jump into it. What led you to decide to run this year?
Well, AJ, thank you very much for doing this for me. Always just being very outspoken, being a product of public school systems, raising my children in South Carolina or Charleston public school systems, COVID, the ineffectiveness of communication, watching the schools close, just everything that's kind of I've watched trickle. The gap in education, having my son having autism and just not being able to sit back and watch the problems continue, I just decided to step in and step out and run for school board.
All right, that is admirable. That is admirable. Well, this year and this year's race has been a very contentious one, especially here in Charleston County. Of course, with the attack ads that were brought out against two of the candidates by the Coalition for Kids. And I spoke with one of the coalition candidates previously, Ms. Lauren Hurderich, and she has also expressed her dismay at those ads. Given the fact that you weren't explicitly attacked by them, are you feeling anything similar in your campaign?
AJ, actually I am. And as a first-time candidate, and as a newcomer to just all of this, yes, I have. And it's scary to know it's just a school board race. And I know the education of our children are really important, but to see the racism that is really deep, so bad in our education system, I see it and it hurts. I haven't been attacked directly, but indirectly I have. And to watch them pit two of our own candidates toward each other, it's bothersome and it's very troublesome, especially at this day and age.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. I do want to delve a little bit deeper into your candidacy. So as a candidate for West Ashley, what are some of the specific issues in that particular part of the district that you, if elected, plan to tackle?
I want to make sure that we do make sure that parental accountability, parental involvement is there, that the voices of the parents and the community and the teachers are there, so that when we sit down and collectively think about the things that we're dealing with, and I don't want to call them problems, we want to think of them as obstacles now, because right now we need to try to overcome obstacles that are keeping our children from learning. And once I think we collectively come together and make a list of those things, to have the voices of the communities and the parents and the teachers, as well as our students, ask and demand what it is that we need, the reallocation of the funding to our critical need areas, to where we need it most, from those who need it most, and them telling you that and they listening to it, and making sure that our public schools get exactly what they need and not what other people feel like they deserve.
Okay. You mentioned critical needs areas. What are those areas in your opinion? Have you identified specifically what that might be?
Trauma-related services, children with disabilities or autism, IEPs, 504s, ADHD. To me, those are the most critical needs. Before our children are going to be able to learn academically, we have to get to that socio-emotional part for our children to feel grounded. And that's what I want to make sure that our parents understand too. So when we educate not just our teachers, I want to make sure that we're educating our parents and our staff also.
You mentioned educating parents and staff. That segues into another question I have, which I also asked the previous candidate. There seems to be a lot of mistrust or distrust currently in the community surrounding Charleston County School District. As a candidate and potentially as a board member, what do you intend or what do you think you would be able to do to address that mistrust or distrust of the district?
I'd hate to pat myself on the back a little bit, and I think that's what makes me feel even better about this. I think I've done my groundwork already. To know that people already knew my name before coming into the school board race because of some of the community work that I've already done, that's a big plus. To know that my other running mates and I already have a relationship, and our people, our constituents already see that. So that's, I have a running start on that, and I won't stop. Even if I don't win this race, I'll continue to do what I've been doing and, being a pillar in the community to make sure that we're building relationships. And not just here in West Ashley have I done it. I've done it in North Charleston. I've done it in Somerville. I've done it on James Island. So the things that I do and things that I have done wasn't even to just leading up to this race. It was bridging those gaps of those and building those trusts and building those relationships. And that's how I've kind of actually even succumbed to this, just by building relationships already. So just keep building relationships going forward.
Speaking of building relationships, one of the most contentious parts of public education, not just here in Charleston County, but you can say across the state and even across the country, are the disparities that we see in education that usually fall along racial lines. Much talk has been given to the achievement gap and the graduation rates or standardized test performances of African American students. As a board member, what do you feel like you would do from your position to address this?
Right now, I think we need to make sure that our curriculum, that our standards, that our disciplinary measures are actually fitting the needs of the community. And that's what's happening when we're not having faces that represent us in housing, in education, in jobs. That's why we're missing out, because when you don't have people that represent you, nothing's fitting you. And I was actually just on another forum with some teachers, and that teacher, he asked me a question. And like he said, when we're out here making these decisions and making choices, how is it that you can make choices when teachers aren't even in the room? And to them, I said, it's like an aha moment, because how can people keep making choices about diversity when there are no Black people in the room? Just like how can men continue to make choices about women when there are no women in the room? So this is my way of trying to make change. We have to put faces in places that represent people on all levels so that we can start to close the gap, not just in education and everything else, but in housing and our employment too.
Thank you. You mentioned being on a call about teachers. Teachers this year, because of COVID-19, the pandemic, which has definitely changed a lot in our society, especially how we interact with each other. And I think it's hard to argue that no other place has been hardest hit except public education. As a board member, if you're elected, how do you feel like you can address the impact, or what will that impact be from not just the pandemic, but how do you move forward to support teachers and staff in schools?
Well, this pandemic has definitely taught us all a lot. This wasn't anything planned, but it's taught us all a lot. So going forward with what we already know, what we've already learned, how we're already continuing to build, we have to make sure that those measures are in place for everybody, so that when we send it home, like the education and training, it has to be there for the parents, not just for the teachers or not just for the students. Like everybody has to be adversely trained on what it is that we need to be able to teach our children going forward. Communication, more transparency, more community involvement. Once we have, when we have the community being involved in their input, they're more able to adapt to whatever it is that we're going to have on the outcome, because they've already said what it is they're going to say. And maybe we do not actually maybe do, but take it in consideration. And that's what wasn't happening with our current board members. We would say something, you hear our voices, they go in the room, and then, it go in one ear and not the other. But right now, going forward, we want to make sure that once the community members are heard, that everything that they're saying are taken into consideration. And that's the way to make sure people are more comfortable, because they've had their input. Just like my son who has autism, when we help him, when we allow him to help us with lunch or help us with that dinner, to know what he's going to be eating, they're more able to accept that because they had some hand in doing that.
Okay. Interesting answer. We are 1 week away from Election Day. And I know that you have been grinding on this trail what probably seems like forever. This is a Erica question now. How are you doing?
I'm tired, but not as tired as I am of seeing some of the things that our children have gone through. So I'm glad people are paying attention, and I'm just really happy now to know that more eyes are open to some of the inequalities in education. So I'm tired, but I'm good, and I'm happy. I really am, because my son went to the polls and he voted, and he told me that it made him feel really good to see my name on the ballot. And I told him that if that's what I had to do to make him see how important it was right now, not just this election, then I'd do it again. So I'm really happy.
That's a very, very, very touching and very authentic statement. And I thank you. I thank you for sharing that. I know that this election, this school board election, probably has been one of the most contentious elections that we've seen in recent years. And you, along with your fellow candidates, have probably been the most interviewed and the most vetted candidates for any political office here in the Charleston area that we've seen in quite some time. I do want to ask, and I do want you to give me, in your terms, what do you want people to take away from you running for school board this year?
Eyes are open, to pay more attention to our local elections, to put just as much energy into our local elections that we do into our presidential elections, because everything that we know about politics, I feel like, kind of starts right here, with our youth, to our younger children, to our younger generation, to my daughter. You can do anything you want to do, no matter how much people ask you what makes you think you're qualified. But the fact that people are paying more attention to school board elections now and going forward, I think that's about the best thing that I could say about it, that, people are really paying attention right now. So I just hope they don't stop paying attention.
Well, I know that you've got a busy schedule. You've got another event coming up right after this. Are there any parting words that you have for the audience who will see this video?
No, actually, let's see. Just thank you. Thank you, AJ, for doing this. Thank you, everybody that's been paying attention. Thank you to everybody that's been supporting me. Just whatever it is, whoever gets elected, I just want to make sure that our children's, the success of our children is like their best interest. And that's the only thing that I can say.
Well, thank you, Ms. Cokley. Thank you, Erica. Good luck on your campaign. Thank you for taking time out of your very hectic, very busy schedule to come on and give people another glimpse of you and why you are running. And I want to thank all of you who will watch this video. This has been another community conversation sponsored by Community Solutions Consulting. Thank you all, and good night.